you have been doing some really interesting polling, some number crunching to try and work out what on earth is going to happen in this extremely unpredictable election. So thanks for coming on the programme to kind of talk us through some of it. I'll just get up the first slide, shall I, just to use as a prompt for the discussion. This is the voting intention that you did. So if you look at this, it looks pretty good news for the Conservative Party, does it?
It does look for a majority if there was an election tomorrow. So this is based on the latest polling we got back on Friday, which actually is in line with some of the sort of average ones. So we've got the Conservatives 8% ahead. But that translates, if the magic number to get to is 325 to get form a government. And that actually only gives them 12 seat majority.
So it's all to play
tight.
for, really.
It's very tight, and we're seeing that narrowing, and just another 2% narrowing would reduce that to actually a 7-seat loss. So the delta, if you like, they call it a 1% shift between or narrowing will mean that Conservatives lose 9 seats and Labour gain 8. So it's very, very tight.
And why is the narrowing happening? I mean, the number that stands out to me as well is the Liberal Democrats from 11%. Is that why we've seen a narrowing, that you've seen Liberal Democrat voters perhaps drifting back to Labour?
It's really interesting in this election because you've got the national picture. So we're doing sort of national MRP and polling. But actually, the local picture in constituency is also really important in this election. And so what we've done is we've done 71 MRP in constituency polling and analysis. And there are many different reasons. Yes, we know, that, and the polls show this, that the lead of the Lib Dems is not sort of maybe landing as well as she could do, but there are definitely in-constituency factors playing out. And for example, I know you had Dominic Raab on earlier. I mean, our tactical voting and what we're picking up in his constituency is that the Lib Dem is likely to win the candidate in that seat rather than Dominic Raab because of local issues, not because of the national picture.
Extraordinary thing that he's the Foreign Secretary's second most powerful person in government. Let's have a look now at a couple of other bits of data. So this is the seat prediction. So this is effectively the seats that you would get if that polling was carried out.
Yes.
And if you had an election tomorrow.
No tactical voting, just based on voter intention at the moment, and where the polls are sitting and the difference between the seats, there would be a 12-seat majority for the Conservatives.
But if people vote tactically, which I know is something that you perhaps are encouraging, this is what would happen if people voted tactically, and now we're in hung parliament territory.
Absolutely. And so what we're doing is we're giving people recommendations. And the other polling we did was on tactical voting intention. And what we're finding is that it's staying stable at about 45% of Remain and soft Leave voters saying that they intend to tactically vote. Now, we saw that in 2017 when I ran that campaign in 2017. We ran a tactical voting campaign which saw 6.5 million, we know, not just because of us, but also 6.5 million people tactically voted. If that 45% stays stable, we get a hung parliament with probably a 3-party coalition.
I mean, some of our viewers will be listening to this thinking, you are somebody who campaigned for Remain. Now you're talking about tactically voting. Are you just trying to stitch up this election to stop Brexit?
The tactically voting is actually not something new on the political arena in the UK. I mean, all the way back to 1997, we had tactical voting. And actually, tactical voting makes up for the deficit of the first past the post system. And that's where this fills the gap. But tactical voting is happening on both sides, which is quite unusual from 2017 to this election, because in 2017, we weren't picking up as many Leave voters tactically voting. So both sides are tactically voting, and it is about making sure your vote counts. And so the news from our poll is for Remain voters or soft leavers, because it's both, is that this is really hopeful for you. Don't be disheartened, because you can actually create a hung parliament.
To be honest,
stop a majority.
It does feed into what I've seen going around the country as well. I mean, I remember going to Grimsby and talking to people who were Brexit Party supporters but were going to vote Conservative tactically to try and stop Jeremy Corbyn coming in and getting a second referendum. And also in Cheltenham this week as well, people who were Labour voters but were going to vote Lib Dem because they thought they were the best chance of beating the Conservatives.
We've never seen voter volatility as we're seeing in this election. And, the sentiments locally are very different. but also the fact that people are really picking up on the fact that the first past the post system doesn't really represent them when they go into the polling booth. So what they're going to do is lend their vote to the party where they know that in this system, the outcome is likely to be in the favour that they want.
Very quickly, because we're running out of time, what do you think is going to happen in the election then? Hung Parliament, Conservative majority, what do you think?
Look, we're Remain United side, we're making recommendations. If people follow that, we are in a hung Parliament, there is no Tory majority. Another 2% narrowing, that is, it looks as though it's almost a cert.
Okay, Jeannie Miller, thank you.